Okay, another video a bit different from what I'd normally do, but it is still related to gaming, at least vaguely, as the guys I'm talking about have both made some really good videos about games. And I'd normally steer clear of YouTube drama, no one needs yet another no-name nobody shouting their opinions into the abyss, but this bit of drama really caught my eye given who was involved. And also, it got me thinking about my own relationship to YouTube, mostly as a watcher, but also as a creator. And by the way, actually coming up with background footage to show in this video was impossible. I don't really want to just have someone else's video playing, even though fair use would probably allow me to use it for the purposes of commentary. But given the subject of this drama, I just want to avoid that question altogether. So here's some footage of me playing Sonic 2. Great game, and it still looks good. Anyway, let me start off by saying that I like Internet Historian. Well, I like his videos. Well, I like most of them. His retelling of the development, reception and miraculous post-launch revival of No Man's Sky was interesting, amusing and something of a celebration of a game I loved. His video on Fallout 76 was an equally interesting and amusing dissection of a game I didn't care about. And his analysis of the crash of the cruise ship Costa Concordia was incredibly watchable and downright hilarious in parts. Indeed, it's Internet Historian's sense of humour and comedic delivery that makes his videos so compelling. His videos are probably the only ones where I don't skip the ad reads because they're just so damn funny. I still haven't played World of Tanks or paid for NordVPN though. And then there was that video he did about the guy that got stuck in a cave. Another highly enjoyable video. It's not available on YouTube anymore, but an altered version is. It's good too, definitely worth watching. So yeah, broadly speaking, I like the guy. And not just because I too represent myself with some old bearded dude on the internet. And I like Hbomberguy. He's done a whole heap of videos on a bunch of different games, including some Fallout and Soulsborne games, and also a disconcertingly long video on Deus Ex Human Revolution. But he's also made many great and interesting videos on non-game related stuff, a lot of it somewhat political in nature, some of it not. Recently, he's probably best known for his video on the origins of the oof sound effect from Roblox, which famously evolved into an incredibly intricate and well-researched takedown of one Tommy Tallarico and his rather dubious claims about his own achievements. One thing we do know about Tommy, his mother is very proud of him. Hbomberguy's most recent video, published just a few days ago, was an even more intricate and well-researched takedown of several different YouTubers who had indulged in a little plagiarism. Or, you know, more than a little. Most of these YouTubers I was either completely unaware of or knew only a little, but one of them was Internet Historian. I'm not going to go into the details of the accusations, and I'm sure as hell not going to either dispute or reaffirm the factual basis of anything said by anyone, because while Hbomberguy may be willing and able to put hundreds of hours into research, I am not. I do recommend watching the video yourself though, because for my money Hbomberguy demonstrated, with what seemed to me like a high degree of credibility, that much if not most of the script of Internet Historian's cave video was plagiarised from an article on the Mental Floss website. The credibility of this is given more weight by the fact that the video was successfully taken down by a copyright claim from the owners of the Mental Floss website, and then re-uploaded to be, you know, a bit less plagiarism-y. Which is disappointing. In fact, it's disappointing in a few different ways. First, it's disappointing because the video was so well made, so much effort had gone into it, that choosing to plagiarise the script seems like a bizarrely half-assed thing to do in light of the hard work that was being done elsewhere. Second, as quite a few people have pointed out, it would have been so easy to openly present the video as an adaptation of the original article, with the author's consent of course, or failing that, just crediting it as a source and using it as inspiration would have been fine too, as long as any direct plagiarism was avoided. And third, it's disappointing that Internet Historian's response was simply to take down the video and replace it with one that had been reworded enough to avoid any legal ramifications, without offering any explanation or apology. Yes, he updated the sources to include the original article, but I don't think that's enough. So yes, it's disappointing. But that by itself I don't think would be enough to put me off watching Internet Historian's videos in the future, as long as he was more open about his sources. The fact is, he adds so much value to the stories he tells just by the way he tells them. I don't care if he's basing much of it on other sources, just be open and fair about it, split the revenue where required, and that's fine by me. However, I've never felt entirely comfortable calling myself a fan of Internet Historian, for some complicated and perhaps divisive reasons. Not all of his videos are quite as amusing as the others, even though the sense of humour is just as sharp. His video about DashCon, the catastrophically failed Tumblr convention, may be the best example of what I'm referring to here. Don't get me wrong, that whole debacle is ripe for some caustic humour, but Internet Historian couches it all in the most tedious tropes of the anti-SJW movement. It's broadly misogynistic and hits all the usual targets that young male internet denizens, fresh off the whole Gamergate thing, tended to aim for, with tiresome predictability. Nevertheless, after seeing that video I continued to watch his others, even if I also harboured a suspicion that at any moment he could come out with something I'd find truly abhorrent. But so long as he didn't, well, I'd hope and assume he'd matured some. There's also the fact that his audience seems to consist of a lot of, how shall I put this, raging assholes. Look at some of the ways his fans have chosen to express their disapproval of Hbomberguy in his video. No, actually don't look at them, it's too depressing a reminder of just how far human beings can fall. Of course, a creator can't be held accountable for their audience, but if they actively cultivate a certain type of audience, be it on YouTube or on the darker side of the web, they do bear a certain responsibility for it. Now, this whole plagiarism thing makes me wonder how much I can tolerate from a creator before their videos are just too tainted to properly enjoy. I honestly find this a tough and interesting question, and it's kind of the crux of this video. Some people say they really do not care. They'd watch a video made by the devil if it was funny enough and contained a cute kitten. Of course, when some people say that, I do have to wonder if there's an underlying belief that the devil isn't really that bad after all and may in fact have some valid points. I'm using the devil as a stand-in for bad guys in general here. You can probably draw some real-life parallels of your own. Me, though, I struggle with this. I am a politically, socially and culturally aware person, or at least I try to be, and a lot of these things matter to me. I mean, they matter to everyone, really, but some people choose to engage with them more. And when I learn that someone whose creative output I like, even if I really like it, turns out to be one of those raging assholes, I do find it tough sometimes to separate the art from the artist. Not always, though. As a fan of British comedy, there are plenty of people involved in that industry who seem to have turned out to be, well, rather unpleasant people, but I'm still able to appreciate their output. Well, mostly. The old stuff, anyway. I still watch Father Ted.
I hear you're a racist now, Father!
Not sure I'd want to watch their new stuff, such as it is. I don't think I'm unusual in wanting to avoid creators whose views I find abhorrent, and I think it's something that's broadly true on every side of every political, cultural or social divide. Plenty of people will claim to be totally impartial in their YouTube viewing habits, but in my experience what they mostly mean by that is they'll watch someone who agrees with them on 100% of things, as well as a few people who agree with them on 90% of things. Certainly there aren't many people who frequently watch and enjoy creators from the opposite side of any political spectrum. I mean, they may hate watch them, but I don't want to meet the sort of person who actively enjoys that. So I'm not claiming to be impartial, and if someone did a YouTube video one week about how they wanted to kill all Asians, and then one about how they really enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3 the next week, I probably wouldn't watch that second video, even though I really like Baldur's Gate 3. But what about Internet Historian? With what may be cosmically good or bad timing, I'm honestly not sure, he uploaded a new video hours after Hbomberguy's video pointing out his plagiarism. I haven't watched that new video yet, although I have checked out the comments, which are quite interesting. But I haven't unsubscribed from his channel either. I suspect I will watch it eventually, and I'll stay subscribed, but I'll be disappointed if he doesn't address the plagiarism, and I'll be viewing everything he does with a degree of suspicion. And as always when I watch his videos, I'll be apprehensive that at any moment he could say something I find truly objectionable. Again. But this is something that I think about not just as a YouTube watcher, but as a creator too. Okay, I'm not quite in the same league as Internet Historian, not yet anyway, just need to get to 4,000 times as many subs as I have now, but it is something that crosses my mind. If I say something that some of my viewers might find objectionable, is that something I should worry about? Is it something I should even give a moment's thought to? And is it even relevant? All of my videos are about games, most of them retro ones that are about as political and controversial as an ice cream sandwich, and knowing my luck, some horrible political controversy will now erupt over ice cream sandwiches. But then again, a while back I played through the first Bioshock game. It's a game I really enjoyed, although I also think it was perhaps a little overrated at the time. Nevertheless, I strongly considered making a video on it, and indeed I may still do that at some point in the distant future. I found the setting and the lore behind the game quite interesting, and in fact I have many complicated views and opinions on Ayn Rand, whose writing formed some of the basis of Bioshock. In a highly critical way, that is. I think it's safe to say the developers were not a fan of Rand. So I figured I could possibly make an interesting video on the subject. but it would have had to be, in some small ways at least, an overtly political video, with some discussion on my political views and how they influence my perspective on the world that Bioshock presented. And this seemed like a daunting prospect, especially since I knew leftists might despise me for not hating Ayn Rand, and those on the right might despise me for, well, pretty much everything else. Some might say that if you're angering both sides, you're on the right track, but I'm not sure if that's true, and I am sure that it's not necessarily helpful. So after writing a few thousand words, I shelved that video. Not just because of the political stuff, also because it would have ended up being way too long and probably not all that good, but the political stuff was a factor. And I wasn't the only one who thought that way. A couple of people I talked to about the potential video also advised me to avoid anything political. And maybe that would be wise, but it also seems limiting. And there are other considerations. Is it unfair of me to ask the guy who subscribed after watching my video on Doom to sit through a video where I talk about the underlying socio-economic flaws inherent in the sort of hyper-capitalism presented in Bioshock? But then if that guy doesn't like it, he can just not watch it, right? And wait till I make a video more to his taste? But what if he decides I'm a left-wing snowflake and unsubscribes? Is that a bad thing? Are we perhaps better off without each other? Better still, of course, if it doesn't come to that. My guiding principle, I think, should just be to make the videos I want to make and express the views that seem right to me. Not that I think that'll usually be an issue, mostly I just want to make videos about silly computer games after all. Well, thanks for watching. What do you think? Are you a fan of Hbomberguy or Internet Historian, or, improbably, like me, both? Does the plagiarism bother you? Would you click that unsubscribe button if I expressed a view contrary to yours? In any case, until next time, get off my lawn.